There's some advice online about your first YouTube video, and that's that it's gonna be pretty crappy probably, so you should just get it out of the way. So that's what I'm doing, and I thought I would also do a review of a game that I thought was pretty crappy. I'm gonna give my opinion of the game Graveyard Keeper for Nintendo Switch. Graveyard Keeper is this game I was so excited about. I love the idea of a game set in a graveyard. It presents itself as kind of like a farming game, but instead of the old Harvest Moon trope of getting your grandfather's old farm to fix up, you're instead given this rundown cemetery. Your job is to fix up the graveyard and take care of the graves. So instead of crops, you're going to be taking care of graves. I loved this idea. I love Halloween. I love spooky things. I think graveyards are kind of interesting, and I just think they have a great atmosphere, and I was really excited to play this game. As far as the atmosphere does go of this game, I was not really disappointed. It was a great world. I loved the world of Graveyard Keeper. I think the artwork was really cool. The music was great too. You really felt like you were immersed in this little medieval village. I loved it. The first thing, though, that I didn't really like about Graveyard Keeper was the fact that you actually are playing a main character who's not even from this beautiful world. The main character is this guy with a beard who's from the modern world. He's basically having like a near-death experience. He has an accident, he's transported to this graveyard where he's the gravekeeper and he doesn't know how he got there, he wants to go home, he misses his family, that type of thing. I was disappointed by this because the whole reason I wanted to play Graveyard Keeper was to be immersed in that world. I didn't want to play someone who didn't care about it. I thought this kind of sucked because I wanted my main character to be as invested in the graveyard as I was. I wanted him to be wanting to do his job and to be a part of that world. But instead he had no idea what he was doing and he just kept asking people, how does he get home? And I didn't want him to go home. I wanted him to stay in that village, so I was not motivated to help him get home. The second thing, while we're on the topic of the main character, I didn't like I said, the artwork was really nice in this game. I thought it was great. Cute little pixely artwork. The main character, though, his torso is so much bigger than his legs and he looks so out of proportion. He's just waddling around. He has like elbow pads or something, like little patches or something like that, and it just looks so weird when you're walking around. I could not stand looking at this main character. I wished so bad I could pick a different character. He just looked weird. But besides that, all the other artwork I think was great. There's some really cool characters in there. There's talking donkeys and like this talking skull that tells you how to do stuff. You know, you see ghosts sometimes. It's really entertaining. The things the characters say are pretty funny. It's definitely, the talking donkey delivers you bodies. That's how you get them for the cemetery. That part's it is a little bit morbid and shocking because you actually take them down into, you have a morgue, you perform autopsies on the bodies, which actually is taking pieces of them away into your inventory. So you can take like the brain, the heart, you can take skin and like meat, and I think you're supposed to take meat to I think the pub owner, who I guess it's also like a restaurant, and like sell it to him, I think. But you need to get like a stamp of approval from some shady guy who I never found the shady guy, so I was not able to sell any meat. But like that's pretty morbid. You're selling human meat to the local medieval pub. So there's stuff like that in it. But if you don't mind that stuff, it's fun. Okay, let's get into my two big reasons why I couldn't stand to play this game anymore and I just quit playing it despite loving the world. The first one is you just have such a hard time figuring out what to do. In my opinion. Maybe other people who are more hardcore gamers had an easier time with this, but I would be sent on fetch quests and stuff and I would have no idea how I was supposed to get the thing or where to go to get it. It really is lacking more information, and I would try to complete these quests and sometimes I usually actually wouldn't even get what I was trying to get because I guess I wasn't fully completing the quest. It was just confusing. I really didn't like that. So the first thing was poor instructions for the player if you don't want to spend hours figuring everything out yourself. The second thing is this game was so heavy on the crafting in a bad way. It was fun at first, but like the crafting system is ridiculous. First of all, I didn't even know, due to problem number one, I didn't even know there was a technology tree. I didn't know how to craft things. I started getting the feeling I needed to craft stuff. I mean, obviously I was collecting resources and stuff, but I didn't know how I was gonna be able to make them. I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't find like a workbench or anything. And then I finally just randomly stumbled across the technology tree in one of the menus, and there's actually multiple technology trees. So you've got like, you know, your stoneworking, your theology, your woodworking, all that kind of stuff. There's certain like workbenches, I guess. You know, you'll have like different kinds of anvil, different kinds of woodworking benches. Like there's so many different places you need to build before you can craft different things. It's super frustrating. For example, talking about cutting down trees. When you cut a tree down, you go cut your tree down. You've got to bring the log back to your home and throw it on the log pile. Then you need to, I think in the technology tree now, you need to unlock like multiple different woodworking places. You can have like a stump where you can now chop the logs into a couple different things, or you have, I want to say it's like a mill or a planer or something, and that's where you make planks and I think one other thing. But then if you want to actually make pieces for your projects, you have to now make them out of the planks at like a woodworking bench. And then I think you can like level up these benches, and when you go, like there's so many places that you need to make all these different things. You have to go through so many steps to make one piece for your crafting recipe. And this happened to me so many times. You would be collecting your resources, crafting away, getting all your ingredients for this thing you're going to build. You also don't really know if you're going to need it or if it's going to work because of the lack of instructions. And then you finally go to make it and you realize you don't even have the workbench that you need to make this thing. You need to make another spot now. And then you realize you don't have the materials to make that workbench. Or maybe you don't have the points to unlock it on the technology tree. It's just this never-ending tracing back of what you need to gather. And then in the end, it's like you collect all this stuff and you build all these different workstations and you finally mill and blacksmith your way into having all these little hinges and nails and wooden wedges and whatever else you need. And what you use it for is like, I don't know, clearing a pile of rubble in your basement, which leads you to like an empty room that you don't even know if you need it right now. It's so frustrating. These two things combined, the lack of instructions and the overcrafting, made this game no fun at all. I wanted to get into the game. I just kept being like, hey, let's get back into it. You know, you meet all these cool characters. Bishops, the religious guys are pretty funny. They're burning witches and stuff. Not saying burning witches is funny, but I think they're kind of poking fun at the brutality of medieval life, and it is pretty humorous. Anyway, you meet all these characters and you want so bad to be absorbed into the storyline. You want to get back into it, but like you're sent on these fetch quests without idea of where to go to get this stuff or how to make it, and then you just get stuck crafting in this like cycle of crafting. Maybe it does get more fun later, but I kind of expect a fun game to be fun most of the time. I don't want to have to do things I don't want to do, right? Like I'm playing a game to experience things that don't happen in the real world. I felt like the crafting really took me out of that world, and I just felt like I was at an office job or something trying to just keep tabs on things, and it wasn't fun at all. That's why I really didn't like this game. I stopped playing it, and I honestly don't really recommend it. I don't like when it's redundant. When I feel like a game is wasting my time, it's the same thing as when you go out in the world and stand in line for an hour. You feel like your time is being wasted. You don't want to be doing that stuff, right? You have better things to do. Same with video games. I don't like when games make me feel like I'm wasting my time. If that sounds good to you, if you want to be crafted to death, then Graveyard Keeper is probably a really good game for you. But I was disappointed. I think that the mechanics of the crafting could have been so much better. It was just frustrating. If you also have these problems with games, you don't like when they waste your time, you don't like overcrafting, you want it to be fun and immersive, if you have those kind of standards for games, and if you like spooky and cute things, I'm probably gonna keep looking and keep trying out new Switch games. I'm going to be looking at indie games, mainstream games, free games, cheap games, expensive games. I just want to try to find games I really, really enjoy. So I'm going to keep looking, and it is my first YouTube video, so if you want to leave a comment, that would be really nice. And let me know what you think, or you can even let me know if I was dead wrong about all this stuff.